We've all been there, thinking if we just held on tighter, loved harder, or controlled things a little bit more, it would finally work out and everything would be fine. But what if love was never meant to be about attachment? What if true love is releasing the ego's need to control? Lately, I've been in this space of putting down the idea that I need to heal everything, tackle everything, and learning how to just embody my highest self as much as possible. I'm not perfect. I slip in and out all the time, but that's the point. It's not to be this rigid, exercise in self-control. It's about always finding the flow. It's about always getting back into alignment. Think of alignment like a river flowing toward your destiny, this perpetual horizon, if you will. If you step out of the river, all you got to do is just walk right back in and you will begin to flow once again. So as I've put down my tools and wanting to fix everything about myself and started just being and just embodying my highest self, what would my highest self do? My highest self doesn't have the wounds that I'm so busy trying to heal. So what would she do in these moments? And so the idea of standards and expectations came to me. And boy, did my ego fight against this one at first. What do you mean release expectations? We all have expectations. I'm not releasing shit. I want what I want. I'm very strong-willed. I'm a double Sag, okay? Sag sun, Sag rising. I want what I want, and I want it when I want it. So, what do you mean release expectations? And you hear spiritual people talking about this all the time. Oh, release your expectations. But I truly couldn't wrap my mind around it. It's probably my self-diagnosed autism as well, because unless I know that I know something, I'm kind of stuck with it. Like I have to figure it out. In this idea of letting expectations go, I was wondering, how do I make this work when it comes to twin flames? We all on this journey are looking forward toward reunion. How do you release expectations? Because if you're scripting, if you're manifesting, and this of course goes broader than just twin flames, but I'm just using this as an example. If you're scripting and manifesting and you're envisioning your life together with your person, those are all riddled with expectations, right? You're imagining conversations, you're imagining couples date nights, you're imagining vacations and your entire life together with this person. So it comes with expectations of them calling you, them reaching out to you, you guys riding in a car together, or, sitting down in a restaurant together. Like, these are all things that you're envisioning. So aren't they expectations? So after I went down a rabbit hole with this, I came to realize the biggest difference, right? Ego says, I must control the how and the when. That's the expectation. Controlling the how and the when. Standards are healthy. True love has standards, and those standards are based in self-love. Those standards govern how you show up in love. They are your boundaries. That's the difference. Okay? Attachment comes from the ego. Attachment and expectations are pretty much the same thing. They go hand in hand. Your expectations are what helps you create attachments to people. And attachments will always result in suffering. Attachment is rooted in fear, and it says this must happen or else I'm not okay. My person must act like this. They must say these things to me. They must do these things, or I'm not okay, or they don't love me, or reunion is not going to happen. Okay? Expectations pressurize a situation, and they always lead to disappointment. Healthy standards are boundaries that come from self-worth. So here's an example of one of the healthy standards that I set up with my twin flame journey. As many of you know, I've been on this journey for 4 years, and I've been in separation for 4 years. Shortly after, uniting with my twin for the first time, separation, I have not heard from him since then, other than telepathically, right? I'm talking about the 3D. I haven't heard from him in the 3D since then. So earlier this year, I reached out to him when I realized that I was actually the runner in the relationship. I had ended things. I ghosted him, and I realized I had been running. I reached out to him. I didn't hear a response back from him. He didn't block me, but he didn't respond to me. So my healthy standard is that, okay, universe, I vow to wait 1 year, up to 1 year, from a specific date that I picked. And at that point, if I still haven't heard anything from my twin, I will be moving on. I will ask to be released from this journey, and I will be moving on. I did not choose this out of fear that he won't come back to me. I chose this out of self-love because I refuse to be waiting indefinitely for a possibility, right? Because twin flame reunion is like a promise, but not a guarantee, if that makes sense. It is supposed to happen. This is the natural order of things. However, we do all have free will. And if your twin does not want to reunite or does not want to do the work, they do have the free will not to be able to. I'm of the school of thought that as long as you are doing the work, you're healing, you're embodying your highest self, you're living at your highest timeline, because you guys are the same soul in 2 different bodies, it's very hard for me to see that you, basically, in that other body, would not also do the work. But theoretically, it is possible. I just want to point out here, we have moved into this Aquarian age, and the age of the twin flame reunions, it's here. There's a huge difference in the climate of twin flames. I think for a long time it has been preached and taught to us not to even expect reunion because most twins don't reunite. And while there was some truth to that in the Piscean age and in that age of sacrifice and entering into the Aquarian age, the water bearer, this is when the earth is exalted. And this happens primarily through twin flame unions and the progeny that results from these unions. But I'm going to go into that in another episode, as not to make this episode too long. But just know, if you're doing the work, you are 99% sure to come into union. Now, I can't tell you exactly when, and I'm not advising that everybody go off of my particular situation by deciding on a year. But I am saying that I feel it's important that you have some type of limit where you'll say, okay, this is how far I go, but no more. This shouldn't turn into you waiting for 20 years for someone that has gone on with their life. And you're holding your life up, not having a partner, not enjoying anyone else, because you're waiting for them. So I think that's important. And that's my healthy standard. And again, standards are how you show up in love. So it's not saying anything about my twin. It's saying I will walk away if I have not heard from him, if we have not made any progress in our journey. Okay? So that's the difference with a standard. And standards are only able to be lived out when you love from detachment. And this is going to trigger the ego, because the ego wants attachment. The ego wants control. And this is so strong that it often feels like love. Attachment feels like love to us. When you don't know how to love healthily, you form attachments to anything and anyone that you try to love. And when things don't go your way, you experience intense pain. That is because you're not actually loving from detachment. Healthy love. Detachment allows other people to be free to make their own choices without it meaning that you're unworthy. It loves deeply, but it does not try to control outcomes, other people's performance, other people's thoughts. This is how you're able to hold standards while being in love. You can think of attachment like a clenched fist, and detachment is an open palm. Detachment allows people who are aligned with you to come in and not feel pressurized to be a certain way, to act a certain way, to say certain things. You take the pressure off of other people to make you feel good, to make you feel worthy. You detach from them and you pour into yourself. And you say, it's no one's responsibility but mine to make myself feel good, to make myself feel worthy. I do not outsource my self-worth anymore. I don't outsource my happiness. It's not to say that other things and people can't elicit feelings of happiness within you. Sure, that's what we're all going for. We want to be surrounded by people that we love, people that we respect and admire. But you don't put the burden, the responsibility on them. And this is very important in a twin flame journey, because your twin is not there to complete you. Your twin is not there to save you. They're not there to make you feel good. Your twin is there as a catalyst for huge transformational growth. Your twin is there to help you reach your highest potential, and you them. That's how you raise the vibration of the earth, when we're all walking as our highest selves. And we couple up together and we create babies that will walk as their highest selves from an even earlier age than you began the journey. That's truly, truly what it's all about. You can look at the Kabbalah, you can look at Hinduism, you can look at voodoo, you can go into any sector in this universe and see that story playing out. From the very beginning with God and his creation. Okay? Twin flames. They're everywhere. And the purpose is always the same. The purpose is to be one in love. Point blank, period. If you try to attach to your twin, which we all learn the hard way, you go into separation, because you're not taking responsibility for your own emotional well-being, for your own growth. If you try to dump your responsibilities onto your twin, you will push them away. We have to remember too, as twin flames, 9 times out of 10, our moods will be similar. So if you're feeling shitty today and moody and you're just over it, 9 times out of 10, your twin is feeling those same feelings. That person is not going to be able to make you feel better. If anything, you're going to both make each other feel worse. You're going to probably need space from each other because you feel bad. They don't feel the greatest. You want them to make you feel better. They can't because they don't feel good. And then they feel pressure because they feel like you want them to make you feel better and they don't have the capacity to do that right now. So now they feel like they're not worthy or they're doing something wrong. And it's a shit show. That's what we signed up for as twin flames. Those type of things are unavoidable. And the only way that you actually can get through it is by taking accountability for your own emotional well-being. And I'm not preaching at you. I very much have to practice this as well. And this is not something that's a one and done. We're going to be practicing this for the rest of our lives. We're not always going to get it right. It's human to want comfort from those that you care about. It's human to want to go to your man or go to your woman and say, baby, I'm having a bad day, and want them to give you a hug and a kiss and tell you everything's going to be okay. And I'm not telling you that your twin will never do that for you. I'm saying that if going to someone else when you're having a bad day, for them to comfort you is your default response, you're going to suffer. Because the twin flame journey teaches you that you need to go to your inner self when you're having a bad day. You need to journal. You need to spend some time in nature. You need to get in the water. You need to take a salt bath. You need to work with your crystals. Whatever it is that you do, that should be your default. And then sometimes you can add going to someone else, talking to a friend, talking to your twin, feeling comforted, right? That's how it should be. It should be you are your savior first and foremost. You are always your first stop. And then you can add someone else. But many of us learned it the opposite way. We learned to go to someone else first. And when our twin doesn't provide that for us, we feel slighted. That's where the expectation comes in. Oh, well, I'm feeling bad. He should make me feel better. He should be here. He should say this. He should do that. That's the attachment. That's the expectation. That's what creates the suffering. What if you, and I want this to be a journal prompt for you, what if you decided to drop your expectations and your attachments of how your twin should perform in your relationship, and you just decided to hold on to your standards instead? This is what I mean by that. If your standard is, I only participate in reciprocal love, I deserve to feel safe in love, I deserve to feel devotion in love, I want loyalty in my innermost relationships. These are standards. These govern how you show up in love. Versus saying, my man has to call me every day, 3 times a day. He has to travel to see me at least once a week. To know that I'm loved, I need him to buy me things at least once a week. He should be proposing to me within 6 months. You know, that this is the difference here. That's the expectation. That's the attachment. That says if he doesn't do these things, then he must not love me. It leaves absolutely no room for your twin to be their own person and to show up in their own way. Now, we all know if you have an expectation that my twin calls me every day. What you're really saying is that my twin prioritizes me. That's what you're really saying. I don't think it's so much about them literally picking up the phone and calling you every single day. That's not exactly what you're after. Because would you mind if they showed up at your job instead? Would you mind if they surprised you and were sitting on your front porch when you got home and said, hey, babe, I wanted to stay the night with you. Is that okay? No, many of you are going to be like, hell no, that's great. Exactly. So you having the expectation that they're going to call me every day limits the universe's ability to bring it to you in the most natural way. Because maybe they won't call every day. Maybe some days will be a call. Some days will be a FaceTime. Other days will be texts and messages. Some days they'll pop up on you. Release the expectation and keep the standard. And I always feel loved in this relationship. And also what this does is it shows you where you still have work to do. A lot of this revolves around your perception as well, which is also what twin flame journeys tend to catalyze. Your perception. It's flawed at the beginning of the journey. You don't actually see yourself, you see your ego, and you think your ego is yourself. As you continue on the journey, you realize everything you've been identifying with was actually the ego. And you shift your perception. Sometimes our twin actually isn't making us feel unloved, but it's how we're perceiving what's happening that's making us feel unloved. Let's take the separation. We can say, well, damn, if he loved me, he would be back by now. I would have heard from him. That's our perception, that reaching out to us, calling us, talking to us, that's love. When we raise or shift our perception a little bit, we can see that if someone is going through a dark night of the soul, if they're trying to find themselves, if they're separating out the wheat from the tare in their life, they're getting out of karmic situations, they're dealing with child custody and visitation issues and financial issues and maybe even work issues and things like that. This person doesn't have the capacity to then add on top of that a whole nother relationship that means the most to them out of everything. They don't yet have the capacity to do that. It doesn't mean that they don't love you. It's actually because they love you. Because if you didn't matter and they didn't care about you and, they just wanted to sleep with you or they just wanted to use you like a plaything, they would have been back in a heartbeat. You would have been someone that they call up all the time, shoot the shit with, because they didn't really care. You didn't really matter that much to begin with. It's because you hold such a high place in their life. It's because you require so much real estate in their brain. The emotions they feel towards you are so intense and enormous that they stay away. And I know that goes against what your ego is telling you, but if you really think about it from the lens of your higher self, it's the truth. If you didn't mean anything, there would have been no reason to separate and not reconcile right away. Think about all your other relationships in your life with other soulmates, with karmics. Have you ever had years-long separation where you feel this person but you haven't heard from them? No. You would just call them, or they would just call you, or you guys would just sleep together. Somebody would apologize, whatever, and everything would be back until it fell apart again. This is the only relationship in your life where you separated and you haven't been able to stop thinking about them since. And it's been a significant amount of time since you've heard from them. This is the only relationship like this. This is the only relationship that pushes you to grow and improve yourself with the promise of reconciliation. So tell the ego, thank you, but no thank you. I don't need to control how and when. If you choose to go down the path of picking a time limit, I would just advise you, don't pick something like 3 days. Okay, maybe not even something like 3 months, because you are dealing with human and soul transformation. It's going to take a minute. But I just didn't want to be one of those women or men that is sitting and waiting endlessly, because it's already been 4 years for me. And one more year would be 5. And that's, 5 is the number of change, swift action. So for me, it made sense. And this is my journey. This is what I felt good about. That may or may not resonate with you. If it doesn't, just leave it. If you'd rather keep it open-ended and not have a time limit at all, that's perfectly fine. This is about setting standards that come from you and how you want to show up in love and in this journey. So I want you guys to take note of where you might be conflating expectations and standards, attachments and love, okay? Because you love your twin and your twin loves you, even in separation. The attachment is what's being broken and worked through, so that when you guys do reconcile, there really can be real, true love from a healthy place of detachment, and you can enjoy each other, and everything is not just one big trigger, one big shit show waiting to happen, where you're constantly looping back through separation because you've never dealt with the attachment to the person or even to the energy of your twin. When reunion comes, you need to be able to be detached enough so that you can love freely and they can love you freely. And you can feel their love, because if you're operating out of attachment and expectation, unless they show up exactly like you want them to show up, you won't feel loved. And again, you'll be triggered. Core wounds of abandonment, neglect, being unchosen, being unloved, all those things will be triggered, and you're going to loop through separation again, and you don't want that. So release the expectations, release the attachment, so that when they come in, you can feel their love, how they give it, because you guys are the same soul, but you're in 2 different bodies. So you have 2 separate lived experiences. You have 2 separate egos, 2 separate personalities. And 9 times out of 10, they're the complete opposite of you in a lot of things. You guys have a lot of similarities too, but you have a lot of differences. And they're like 180-degree, complete opposite differences. So they may not show up in the way that you think is best to show up. But if they're meeting your standards, if the energy is in alignment with you being in alignment with your own self-love, that's what matters. If they're showing up and meeting your standards and you're able to feel the love, that's what matters. Not how they perform, how they do what you need them to do, when exactly they do it. That's all control. And that's a telltale sign that you're slipping back into the ego. You're trying to control the how and the when. Stay neutral, stay detached. Detached doesn't mean that you're not feeling that intense emotion of being in love with them. Detached means you're not trying to control them, and you're not trying to control how they love you. Let them be them, and they need to let you be you, so that you can love each other in peace, love, and harmony. If you need help with this, be sure to check out my website, send me an email. I'd love to help you through this. I have plenty of resources. Make sure you're following me on all my socials so that you're seeing readings, you're seeing teaching, guidance in real time. Take care, collective.